Hey and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now before I get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. Now as you have noticed, the past two videos have had music added to their background. They were all shot on one day so that I could do all the editing. Please bear in mind if there was an accident on the Oracle video, that accident most probably also happened on this video in terms of there being no sound or no music in the background. That's purely as a result of whatever I have done in editing. I'm really sorry. I will edit it in the next series of videos that come out. Remember, there's still two more sets of T9 videos to come out, and that's going to be your logistics series. All the logistics ships will be discussed in two videos, one for shield logistics, one for armor logistics. All your guardians will be in the same format, one for shield, one for armor. Okay, so let's get on to the Talos. Now the Talos is another one of the ships in Battlecruiser Assaults that you will get in T2. As you can see, straight up, one extra weapon, one extra low slot, giving it a big advantage over its previous iteration. It also has more effective defense, more power grid, and more capacitor. But one thing to note, even though it has more power grid, it's not going to affect the ability to match the Naga. Remember, the Naga can deploy a large shield. This cannot deploy a large armor wrap. They will never be able to be matched in that sense. If you do it, you mess up your ability of your ship. You compromise a lot of your ship for just one bonus. And in case anybody is thinking of comparing it to the Oracle, this ship has a much smaller power grid in terms of capacitor than the Oracle. The Oracle has a massive capacitor, and with research it just goes crazy. So please bear in mind, those are all the things. Your power grid is going to be slightly more consumed on this vessel, so your research is required no matter what you do. So let's get into this. Okay, so let's go into railguns again. As we know, there are two types, the rifled and the snub-nosed. Now I do use a railgun vessel myself, so let's go into the large railguns. As you can see, the 900 megawatts, reduce it by 90%. That will give you a 10% of this value. They're about 90 megawatts a piece. It is reduced by research, so please remember your research plays a big part. I'm going through it because I've received so many complaints in the past. I have to keep reminding everybody that I base it off a random amount of research, and the random amount of research is my own research. So when it comes to this this rifled large railguns, remember you have 903 megawatts. When you reduce it by 10%, that's 90 megawatts times 7 times 9, obviously everybody can do that, 630 megawatts gone. You have 1200 megawatts on the ship. You are very stable. You can put any of the builds that I did for long range for the other ships on this vessel. It's going to work out a lot easier than it did for the other vessel. Okay, so as I said, that's 630. Reduce it from 1200. I'm going to cut off the 30 from it just for the purpose of error calculations and your research. That leaves you with 600 megawatts on this ship. 600 megawatts is enough to sustain your long range or your short range, depending on what you're going to do. Sorry, this is for long range, so 600 megawatts is a massive advantage. Now let's go to snub-nose. This is for your Brawler Foot, so let's open it. As you can see, it's 800 megawatts. 820 if you want to go at the maximum. That's 82 times 7. So I'm just going to go 8 times 7 instead of the bigger figure. It's going to leave me at 560 megawatts gone from the power grid. It's a nice fair chunk. I did already do my omission of the 1 from it. If I do add that in, it's going to give me 570. It's a fine amount of power gone from the grid, but you still have over 600 megawatts remaining. It's not going to affect any of my fittings, so I'm not going to worry about keeping a count on my calculations. Okay, so let's go to the mid slots. For your drones, you can deploy a Valkyrie, a Vesper, or Hammerhead. Sorry. But I would suggest a Vesper or Hammerhead. They do the best overall type of assault, and they will be helping you in the weak spot for your ship. All of the ships in this class, I generally suggest you go Vesper or Hammerhead. Valkyrie is an option for taking out fast ships that get under your gun for the Brawler. So that's something that I didn't know about. I made a mistake on it. I thought that all drones were equal in speed. I didn't know that Valkyries were faster than Vespers. Okay, so let's move on to electronic warfare. For your Brawler, I'm not going to give particular amounts. You can stack them double, you can stack them 1-1-1. It's all up to you. For Brawlers, a Web of Fire works perfectly for your mid slot. You can use it for your close range combat. It will stop ships, allow you to do faster, heavier DPS, and that is a major bonus to you. The next thing for the Brawler will be a target painter. It is a good item. It blows up the target radius and you can do a lot of damage close range very quickly. The last thing to add is a scrambler in the form of sorry, I'm making a bit of a mistake here. In the form of the scrambler, it's going to help you with taking out anything that's too quick for you, so they can get back into speed range for you, so that your tracking can destroy them. So that's everything that you need for your mid slots for the Brawler. You could swap out any one of those fittings for a group shield wrap, a group armor wrap, sorry, and a group capacitor. Now the reason for that is the ship is slightly smaller. You don't have that long of a range on your repairs. You can only repair a total of 15 times before you totally run out of cap. That is very dangerous for the Brawler Foot. Remember to be careful about it when you are fighting. Okay, so let's talk about long range. I'm not going through it in detail. When it comes to long range on the ship, one target painter is enough for you to get your long range. You can always keep a Web of Fire for security for anything that gets close, but it's not going to help you throughout your combat. If you do want something to help you sustain, you can go with the group modules for repair and the group modules for capacitor. Web of Fires are about the only thing that's going to help you, and you can use tracking disruptors on your ship to disable heavy hitting ships so that they can't hit you so hard when you're within range of each other. Okay, so moving on to the last thing in the ship, and that is your low slots. You can build it shield tank, and as I said in many other videos when it comes to this here, armor tank vessels being built shield tank will have some efficiency, but you lose their overall effective EHP. It makes a big difference to the overall fight. So that's what I have to say for this particular part of the ship. So let's go straight to armor repair. For the Brawler double mediums, if you want to know why we're not going large is in 1000 megawatt requirement on your power grid. Yes, you could have engineering, you can supplement it with rigs, but it affects the overall effectiveness of my build. If I went with the large, it takes out too much of the efficiency from this build. I don't want to do that there. It makes the ship too pointless to use. So there we go, two armor wraps. In case you're thinking about double checking on the power grid requirement, that's 222 megawatts. You still have over 400. If you're thinking of putting on any other fittings, you're still stable. You can actually put 6 100 megawatt requirement items. It's not going to kill you. Okay, the next thing that you're going to put on the ship obviously is going to be an armor hardener. You could go with the armor wrap and an armor plate. I'm not going to go over it because it's not really the most efficient for the ship. The ship has a very small power grid, so I don't want to risk its power grid with extender. Extenders will knock out the power grid very quickly, and because of your large amount in brawling, you don't want to risk it to knock out your power grid. On that note, if you are running Brawler and you decide that your cap is too unstable with all the fittings that I give you, you can always switch up to a Nosferatu to give you that 75 on that quick close combat, because you are in close combat. It will help you big time, it will replace a group capacitor. Remember, that's how it goes. You trade off one for the other. It will equal to about the same amount of help for your cap. Okay, moving on, let's go down. And we have the armor hardener. Obviously, you put one on your ship. This here will make it perfectly well suited to tank most damage. Last but not least is then your propulsion. The afterburner for the brawler, remember you want the more stable option. So the afterburner is going to be deployed. It's going to give you a nice close range combat feel. It also helps you a lot with your turning radius. Now for your long range ship, you're going to go micro warp drive. The micro warp drive will pull you right out from the center of the fight. It's going to allow you to do massive amounts of speed. It's also going to allow you to get an edge on your opponents, and if you deploy yourself correctly with the micro warp drive, you can evade almost any small ship that pulls to you. Remember, it's also going to be reliant on what I put in the next part of the ship. So for all of you who are counting, brawlers are at 4 foots and long range are at 3 foots. So let's get to, oh wait, I didn't discuss the long range. 1 armor wrap, 1 hardener, 1 micro warp drive. That's where the long range fighter is. The brawler is 2 armor wraps, 1 hardener, 1 afterburner. The reason why I've started to change it is because of the scramblers. The scramblers do affect your micro warp drive, and when you lose that effective speed and you get webbed, your ship falls way too quickly. Okay, so let's move down to your weapon upgrades. Now you're going to need a magnetic field stabilizer. For the brawler, 2 magnetic field stabilizers and you are done. So brawler is out at this point. He doesn't need anything else. For your long range fighter, it's one magnetic field stabilizer, and then you head down to eagle tracking computers. If you're trying to calculate how far your loss in power has gone, you still stable. You're only going to put on another 252 megawatts. With everything else that's on the ship, you are just over 340 megawatts. You in that range where you should be worrying a little bit. Your engineering should throw you over the top. Even if you have just a little bit, like 3 or 4, it will throw you over the top. You're going to be stable. And go down to the eagle tracking computer. 2 eagle tracking computers and we are done. There you go, 2 eagle tracking computers to your ship. You now have an extended range. You can easily sit at 120 meters and fire every time you come in range of ships. Anything that tries to close in on you is going to take a massive amount of damage as they approach you. Remember, keep the approach at 100 away from them the moment they close the 100 kilometer mark. So there you go on the build section. Now as for the rigs, for your long range, it's double extension on your railgun range and 1 armor wrap booster is a possibility. You could go with the damage booster to your railguns. That will make a big difference for the long range fit. It is going to help you quite a bit on your ship, to be honest, to add the damage. The additional pump to your armor wrap is something that you can do, because when you don't have enough research, you are quite close to your enemies and it does affect you in terms of combat. I know that because my Naga didn't have enough research when I started. It really did affect me badly for the start, and I did use the wrappability of the large shield as a major selling point on the Naga to make it more efficient for combat. Okay, moving on, your power grid. You're going to go with 1 auxiliary field booster, so you're going to have more speed, and in your power grid, double semiconductor control because you are running an afterburner. This should blow up your capacitor and give you enough to remain stable for a prolonged period of time in battle. Now as for the brawler, this is where things get a bit more difficult. You're going to go, I'm going to start from the engineering, 1 auxiliary thruster, 1 semiconductor control, and for your last option, it is a variant for you. You can go with a 2nd semiconductor control if you're going to use NOS. If you're not going to use NOS, use a capacitor control circuit so that you can recharge quicker in the shorter period of time. That is the whole idea behind it. The shorter that period for your recharge of your cap, the better it is for you. Moving on into the rest of your ship, let's talk about the weapons. Double damage units, so you have double the damage, and 130% buff to your armor wraps. Now, I'm not sure if it is 30% for the armor wraps, I might be making a mistake, but everything is Rig 3. If you go below Rig 3, it's going to make a big difference for your ship. So there you go for the build for the Talos. The Talos is also a very powerful ship. I hope that you have enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like down below. You have any comments, any other things you'd like to add to the build, leave it in the comment section. I might discuss it with you, have a little bit of topic discussion on it. I have tried out a lot of builds when it comes to these railguns. I do know that you can pair them up in other ways. I know there's other fittings that help you quite a bit, but for now these are the best fittings that I've currently been able to test on them, and I'm basing the railguns off my Naga, not of actual Talos. So yes, it could be quite different from what you have, and that's about it. So subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy my content, and I'll see you all in the next one when I start talking logistics.